2015, the first YCS of the season, the first one after the World Championship. My name is Oliver Gurman, and I'm your host for the weekend, and joined by Luke Withington from the UK.
Hey.
And that was the first match of the day. Was really, really exciting.
Yeah.
We saw Burning Abyss with the Italian national champion going up against Battery Man.
Yeah.
And it was over in just a heartbeat, basically.
Yeah, that was a really explosive match. Battery Men just did what they needed to do in 2 games out of the 3, and that was it.
Yeah, and very, very entertaining to watch. The only downside was, because it was over so fast and the rest of the field took a little bit longer, you guys had to wait a little bit, but now we're back and talking about explosive. There's going to be a few more explosions in this deck. In this match, we invited Paul Cooper from the US to our feature match table. He made the trip once again. He's been here in Europe quite a few times before.
Yep.
And he's playing a magical explosion deck.
Yes,
And
yes, he is.
What is the big deal about this deck?
The idea is to use Royal Magical Library. For those who don't know what that does, every spell card that you play, it gains a counter. And then for each counter, when it gets to 3, you can remove all 3 counters and draw 1 card.
All right, so you want to play a lot of spell cards.
Yeah, so you just get to draw your whole deck. And then you use a trap called Magical Explosion, which inflicts 200 damage for every spell card you have in your graveyard.
Okay.
And combined
You can see where this is going.
Combined with a card called Life Equalizer, which reduces both of you and your opponent's life points down to 3,000 under a certain condition. So you play that, and Magical Explosion, and then you win.
Okay. So that might be another game that, like we said, it's going to be over in a heartbeat. And he's going up against a very interesting player because it's Marcus Patel from the UK. And I have very, very fond memories because at their first ever tournament, which was the European Championship in Milan, which was like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it's 4 years ago.
It's a while back. That was their first ever tournament, and I interviewed them back then for the written coverage, the whole family basically. And it was the father together with his 2 sons. And they had a great time back then playing, I think still playing in the Dragon Duel.
Yeah.
And now he's all grown up, so to speak. He's been playing with the older guys for a couple times now, and he's been doing extremely well.
Yeah, Marcus is really good.
He's a really good player. So you could tell that back then in Milan, he was like tasting what it's like to play at the circuit, so to speak. And then ever since he came back and improved as a player, and now he's going to show us what he can do. And what deck did he pick for this event?
He's playing Burning Abyss.
All right. So the same deck that we saw in our round 1 feature match that had to go up against the Battery Man, as we mentioned. And is there anything in particular that is standing out in this build of Burning Abyss, in your opinion?
It looks really standard. They're playing the 16 trap cards. It's quite a lot. There's some builds that play up to 18 trap cards.
Wow, okay.
Which is, quite a lot.
Basically a lot of disruption in that trap card lineup.
Yeah.
And if he goes first, that could be crucial.
Yes, very
Cards
much
like
so.
a Skill Drain, for example, is really good against the Royal Magic Library, stopping it dead in its tracks.
Yeah, and Phoenix Winged Wing Blast is going to be probably the best possible card for him to have.
Right.
As that guarantees him to not lose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, let's take you to the feature match table where these guys are already... they are more than ready to get their game on. This is what I wanted to say. And let's see how this goes down.
Yeah.
And as always, on the right-hand side, we got the app that will tell you what cards these guys are holding on to. Life points are loading in. And with that, we're good to go.
Okay.
So Paul Cooper on the left.
Let's see who's going to go first here. This is
very crucial.
crucial.
Yeah. This might be one of the most important die rolls. A 7 for Paul Cooper, that's the average result. There's a 3, and...
We didn't see what
we
the other
didn't
dice
see
was.
what the other was, yeah.
Okay. That's
so exciting. All right, we see an Upstart Goblin, and I think there was a Graph, definitely in the hand of Marcus.
Sieur.
Oh, okay, and then
On the left,
Fiend
Sieur.
Griefing as well.
Yeah, I think that might be Rubik. But I'm unsure.
Yeah.
But the long story short of it is that Marcus doesn't have Phoenix Wind Wing Blast.
Okay, yeah, that's an important thing to say here, yeah.
Yeah. But this is let's have a look at Paul Cooper's hand. This is a great hand so far.
How crucial is it to have a Royal Magic Library?
100%. You really need to get to Royal Magical Library as soon as possible.
But is it okay that you can draw into it really early on with cards like Trade-In and the Destiny Heroes or something like that?
Yeah, it has to be really soon. Now, here's quite a strange card, Fusion Conscription. What this card allows you to do is search your deck for a fusion material if you reveal the fusion monster, or something to that effect. I think you're not allowed to
you reveal a
summon.
fusion monster from your extra deck and one of the materials listed on that card from your deck or graveyard. And you add one of the fusion materials from your deck or your graveyard and add it to your hand.
Yeah.
And you cannot normal summon or set
That monster.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So basically it's just thinning out the deck a little bit.
Yes. So here we see Paul just going at it. He's going to keep on playing his cards here and really just digging through this deck to try and get to the Royal Magical Libraries. So here's a brand new card that we have that was just released in the core set named Chicken Game.
Yeah, Chicken Game, one of the cards that makes this deck a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So it's a field spell, and you can pay 1,000 life points to activate one of 3 effects. The one that's relevant here is that you get to draw 1 card.
Right. Yeah, basically, so you have another way to thin out your deck, and it's also a target for terraforming.
Yes, exactly.
Which should be mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's a target for Pseudo-Space, another card that Paul Cooper is playing, which allows you to banish 1 field spell from your graveyard, and Pseudo-Space becomes that field spell.
Right.
So Paul Cooper has actually drawn a life equalizer quite quickly here, which isn't really what he wants.
Yeah, he wants that, but that's one of the cards he wants to draw very late.
Yeah.
In his turn rather than very early.
Yeah, and then we see Pseudo-Space being played here, so he's going to be able to draw 1 more card.
And what does it feel like to play, like sit across from one of these decks and just watch your opponent go nuts with all of these draws and doing all of these things?
Yeah, it's pretty scary, because your life is not in your own hands.
There's a Magical Mallet. I think you can feel pretty good about that, at least, because the opponent is losing cards in his hand, so to speak.
Yeah, so Magical Mallet here is it's
Shuffle everything
a
back in.
minus.
Yep.
Because you're playing Magical Mallet and getting back less than you put in.
Yeah. So Paul Cooper down to 4 cards in hand, which is still not too bad. I mean, he's got 1 on the field, so he's still very much in this, I guess. Oh, he didn't really lose any cards. And there's a pot of duality.
Yeah.
And there's the
Royal
library.
Magical Library.
And let's see if he can now suddenly shift gears, so to speak,
Yeah, so
and
this
go into turbo mode. He did have a trade-in and a magical explosion in hand, so not very useful.
Nope. So he's going to play
The mullet again, the magical mallet.
So as we were speaking about earlier about the Royal Magical Library, that now has 1 counter on it. As soon as that reaches 3, you can remove all those counters to draw a card.
Right. So 2 draws only for Paul Cooper, and he needs to find something that will allow him to dig
Yeah, and
further into his deck. He didn't, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So there is no other win condition for this deck.
No.
You only go for this combo, and if you don't hit it, you're basically going home.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a very quick game 1.
Because I thought, I mean, he's still got like at least another turn or something.
Yeah, he could have.
I mean, it's not like the library is going to stay on the field, of course, but with just 100 attack. But
no, I think he could have waited 1 more turn there.
yeah, before trying to do something with the library.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but he was very decisive. He was like, okay, I don't have it, so I'm just going to go home instead.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it takes quite something to decide to make the trip from the US to Europe and then play a deck like this that is super, super risky.
Yeah.
I mean, he is here to have a good time. I spoke to him earlier, and he explained he's always using the time and going on a vacation, so to speak, when he's in Europe and checking out all there is to see.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, he just took that risk.
Yeah, and that's already it for the first game. That's very interesting. That was certainly a game of solitaire.
Yeah. So as for Paul Cooper's side deck, so we've got a lot of very strange things going on here. So it just seems to be a lot of deck thinning cards.
Mm-hmm. We have Thunder
Thunder
Dragons,
Dragons, Thunder Seahorses.
Yeah, and Hand Destruction is a little bit. It's also one of these cards that allows you to draw more cards and then send something from your hand to the graveyard.
Yep. You draw 2 cards and then you send 2 cards, but it also makes your opponent do it as well.
Oh, okay. So your opponent is going to improve his hand, but so will you.
Yep. And then we have Prohibition and Timidity. I can't actually remember what Timidity does.
Let's see if we can look it up.
Yeah.
And a Book of Eclipse, that's like some sort of protection, I guess.
Yeah, so that was used quite a lot in the past formats.
And Timidity says neither player can destroy set spell and trap cards on the field until your opponent's next end phase.
Wow, that's actually fantastic, because if your opponent has any like Mystical Space Typhoons or anything like that, then they can't use it.
Right. If you are feeling like, okay, few things are happening here at the moment, those guys are shuffling and that's not that exciting, you can always check out the written coverage of the event, where we also going to publish interviews with duelists, deck features, and statistics basically as soon as we got them, like a metagame breakdown or a duelist breakdown. And of course there's also a link on the written coverage to our YouTube channel, which is the latest addition to the world of coverage in Yugiverse. And there we have everything basically that we published at past events in Europe, so you can go and watch all the highlights from YCS London or from the World Championship in 2014, or of course the last event that happened just a few months ago in Bochum. Was it Bochum? It was
Yes,
Bochum. It's all blurred suddenly. Okay, so there you have that, and with that, let's take a look at the second game, where we can spot some of the cards in Marcus's hand. There's a trap card. It's a Fire Lake.
And I think that's an Imperial Iron Wall.
Ooh, that's also an interesting card.
Yeah. So here we see Pocketbit opening up again without a Royal Magical Library.
Yeah, and he starts with a Destiny Draw. That's also a card we haven't seen in ages. That's like GX card.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite cards of all time. Asta Phoenix used the Destiny Heroes.
Yeah. So you discard a Destiny Hero and you draw 2 cards.
Yep.
And Destiny Draw is a card that lots of people still remember, because all of the similar effects have just been called, yeah, it's a Destiny Draw for this deck.
Yeah.
People just
Yeah.
referred to this kind of effect as a Destiny Draw effect.
No, you're right. That's one of the it was one of the first ever kind of draw engine cards that was really used in an archetype. Or it's certainly the one that people remember the most.
Yeah. Right, so terraforming to thin out his deck a little bit, then there's an Upstart Goblin. That makes it 9,000 for Marcus. Here's the chicken game. He's got another copy in his hand, as you can see on the right hand side. And another terraforming to further thin out his deck. And nothing of that is like great news for him.
Nope. Because we don't see any more Royal Magical Libraries here again.
And like all of these activations, that would have already been like 2 free cards, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's for every 3 spell cards.
So even with the chicken game, the deck is like not super consistent at this point.
Yeah, well, I think it's just mainly that factor of not having Royal Magical Library.
There's a monster.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
He's actually got double summon as well. So
Okay, so this time we could see something here.
yeah.
It's the 3rd copy of Chicken Game, and that is the 1st counter for the library. So, what are his odds here? Is he gonna go off? What do you think?
I don't know. Oh, someone. Oh no, it was a Plasma, not a Royal Magical Library. But yeah, he's got a Mallet as well, so the chances of him going off here are actually quite strong, because he's getting 3 cards to be put back.
Yeah, and
That's
if
quite
there's
strong.
one spell card among them, he's definitely gonna get 1 free draw out of the Royal Magic Library.
Yep.
And do you agree with not activating the double summon first? Possibly, right?
Yeah, I mean
It's very niche.
yeah, it's
Sometimes
one of
it's
those
good,
things.
but yeah.
yeah. Well, it's
I mean,
saving it for a like if you get a small amount of spell cards back off this magical mallet, and then you had like double Royal Magical Library, that'd be great. But
right.
it's quite risky.
Okay, I see a Pot of Duality in his hand. And so we definitely gonna, and there's a Destiny Draw as well.
And a Suit of Space.
Okay.
And there's the Effect Veiler.
Ooh, that Effect Veiler hurts. Like, I think I'm not sure if the counters are disappearing, to be
Yes.
perfectly. They do.
Yep.
Okay, you need to have an effect to carry a counter, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly that. You need to kind of have the effect of gaining counters for you to be able to have counters.
So just when Paul felt like he might be getting into this game,
Yeah.
he got effect veiled, and we didn't even see that effect veiled before because we were so focusing on Paul's hand, we didn't even look at Marcus's hand. And wow, this is really, really bad and rough for him now. Does he still have a shot?
Yeah, but it's very, very small at this point.
Okay, so he's copying the effects of Chicken Game. It's basically if he finds a life equalizer and a Royal Magic library, I think he does have enough spell and trap cards in his graveyard, and there are the libraries.
Yeah, so they have to. He really needs to kind of double summon another one out here to have a chance.
Yeah, he's gonna draw 2 more cards. Oh no, I think he's just trying to go so he can find those 2 cards. He's already counting the spell cards, and see if he can find the traps without going for another Royal Magic Library. And this way, he found an Allure of Darkness as well. So we might be seeing a few more draws here.
Yeah, he may still be in for a chance here.
I mean, there's the Magical Explosion. That's a lot of damage.
The blind allure, as it's called, because you're
yeah.
playing Allure of Darkness and hoping you draw one of your dark monsters.
There we go. This is how you do it.
Yeah. That's a Destiny Hero Dogma.
Okay, and now he's got a trade-in and the Royal Magic Library, and he's counting the cards again. And okay, he's setting the trade-in.
Yeah, so I think he went into his end phase, into the Void Resolves.
And he has to discard.
Yeah, so he has to discard all his cards.
Okay, so that's the first turn for Paul Cooper. That was quite a marathon.
Yep.
And this time his setup is certainly better than last time.
Yep.
And the question is, can Marcus Patel get rid of the Magical Explosion? That is...
I think so. He has a
with
fire
the Fire
lake.
Lake, yeah. Okay, no hits for his Dante. Mills. And sometimes people are watching Necros and they're like, this deck is not very interactive, but look at the Magical Explosion, you're like, okay, I'm going to play Necros all day long if I don't have to go against this again. Wow, but that effect Veiler, really, really crucial.
Yeah, that...
Stripping the library of its counters and its effect for the turn. And that can be the difference maker. Otherwise, I think it is pretty fair to say that Paul Cooper would have drawn at least like 2 or 3 more cards, and they could have made the difference.
Yeah, I think Effect Veil is not going to be allowed in the book club after this.
Yeah, they're going to be like, no, we're going to put some security in front of this library here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, he cannot swing for game? Oh, he can swing for game. Yeah.
But I don't think he attacked for game, but he could just remove all of his opponent's cards.
Right. That was a very, very quick 2-0, and Marcus might feel like, I didn't even do anything in this game. I just attacked 1 time. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right, that was definitely some rough beats for Paul Cooper. He did win the first round, of course, so it's not like this deck is never working out, but in this feature match we saw that the big reward comes with a very big risk.
Yeah, so it's a very risky deck.
Do you think it's a good choice for a deck like for a tournament like this?
I think in a YCS with a slightly smaller population, it would be really good. But something we've not talked about is the amount of players we have here today.
Oh yes, that is a very good point.
We have 1,090 players was the count that.
Yeah,
that
I think they had to like drop 1, so the official number is like 1,089 at the end of the day. But still, an excellent result again. Not that surprising considering that at YCS, Milan, which is still the largest event in Europe that we've ever had.
Yeah.
We had more than 1,000 Italian players showing up.
Yeah,
so
I think someone actually said that to me this morning. I think it was 1150, the amount of just Italian players that showed up.
Yeah, back in Milan, which is like a record of sorts. I mean, in America it's different, of course. You have a lot of Americans, that makes sense. But like in Europe, normally you have this mix of players from different countries, And Italy is really leading the field
Yeah.
in that regard, with more than 1,000 players showing up for Milan.
Yeah.
It seems like many of them returned for this weekend,
Yeah.
and but we didn't see any in this feature match.
Nope.
We did, however, see two of them in the first round feature match with the reigning Italian national champion Alessandro Di Patria, and Roberta was showing him what the battery man can do.
Yeah.
So this time we're gonna have a post-game interview. Before we cut to that, is there anything else that you want to point out? I mean, we talked a lot about the Mechanical Explosion deck,
Yeah.
and you guys saw why it can sometimes backfire. What about the Burning Abyss deck? You said it's a pretty standard build.
Yeah, it's really standard.
We see a card that we saw in our deck feature yesterday that we recorded with Tom Payne from England. The Retaliating Sea, very interesting card. Very useful.
Yeah, brand new from the new set. It's what people call hand traps. It's really good against a lot of the popular meta decks right now.
Yeah.
Against Necros, against Infernoids. Some people are playing Infernoids. Against Shaddoll. It's just a really, really powerful card.
Right, and it stops them from finishing you off,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. Also, when you get its first effect, which is really useful, but when it's destroyed, you also get to go and search for a maxi, which is great against all of the decks that its first effect is good against.
Yeah, so they both can go in. Although it should be hard to find 6 slots in your deck, shouldn't it?
Yeah, but generally people do dedicate like 5 or 6 slots nowadays for these hand trap cards.
Right, and if you were to go up against a deck where these cards are really shining, can you come up with I mean, you can always take out the Upstart Goblins, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very easy choice, so to speak. And then you just have to find like 3 more cards that you can take out. What would be your go-to options here?
Let's have a look here. So things like Dark Hole and Regeki are not great against decks that, but decks like Clifford that sometimes just decide to play like Pendulum Summon and then Tribute for Majesty's Fiend, like that kind of variant of that deck, and the same for the Burning Abyss deck. Dark Hole and Regeki are useful, but against like Necros and things like this, not that useful now that they don't play the Digilock.
Right. Okay, we're gonna sit down with Marcus in just a second. This time I promise it's gonna happen. So we're just gonna take a very, very short break, and then we're gonna be right back with Marcus Patel, the winner of round 2 of YCS Rimini.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Synchron Extreme! Rev it up with